talking Wrestle Massacre. This one is directed by Brad Tweek. Now this is a wrestling B-movie horror. Now will this be a stunner or will it be rock bottom? Let's discuss the plot. So essentially we focus on this handyman called Randy who has aspirations of becoming a professional wrestler. His father used to be a wrestler. And he is a kind of somewhat down on his luck. He seems to constantly be getting in trouble. He has an infatuation for one of the his customers, this woman who is going out with this guy who is gambling and got a lot of debt and got debt collectors after him and all of this. Anyway, through a series of events, Randy ultimately snaps. He tries to compete in a wrestling match and fails. And people kind of start taking the mickey. He loses his job. He gets kind of like blown out from this girl he fancies, and his mind just goes. And then he decides to kill everyone in wrestling style, wearing wrestling attire. And that's pretty much a movie. So let's discuss first of all, what works with Wrestle Massacre. Well, this is a silly, cheesy B-movie, and it absolutely knows it. So if you like grimy, low-budget grindhouse blood and gore, then this may be one. Because it's actually a fairly gruesome movie with lots of kind of low-budget, heads being ripped off, spines being pulled out, tongues being pulled out, all sorts of stuff. It is very kind of sort of silly, gross-out gore here. Lots of nudity. This certainly isn't for your, Saturday morning wrestling kind of fans. Lots of kind of female nudity here. So there's plenty kind of going on. The movie does at least have an attempt, at least in the first half of the movie, to have some sort of character work done here, showing Randy as a somewhat sympathetic character. But nonetheless, he still is a little bit of a creep. We find him sort of creeping out on this particular woman through a window and things like this. And there are quite a lot of peripheral characters. This woman of Randy's infatuation has a brother who is an alcoholic, and he's actually played by ex-wrestler Rene Dupree. And obviously he's kind of the final match, as he's quite a big guy. So there's kind of like lots of wrestling people who have been involved in wrestling throughout the years and stuff show their faces here. There is quite a lot of kind of like gags in regards to wrestling. So if you are a wrestling fan, then I feel this movie is definitely made for you. For example, a lot of the kills are done with like things like tables, ladders and chairs, all that sort of stuff, and plenty of kind of like wrestling moves that are actually kind of put out there. So there is a lot of reference and reverence as well for the kind of the wrestling culture. So if you are a fan of that, then there's going to be some stuff here for you to enjoy, as long as you don't mind cheesy kind of low budget fun. Like I said, the effects work here is very cheap, but it's so imaginative. It is so kind of like just so OTT and crazy. I mean, it's just like literally people's faces getting ripped off, and then he decides to make a kind of like a wrestling belt made out of stitchwork faces and things like this, kind of a la Leatherface. So it's fairly kind of like gross out humour here, and it has obviously a knowing wink to the audience as well, never sort of taking itself too seriously. Our big sort of crime boss, who is this the leader of this kind of like this loan shark, it turns out to be this kind of like this midget who is has all these kind of like goons working for him and all of this, and he ends up in a kind of a wrestling match, etc. So kind of lots of craziness kind of going on. What doesn't work? Okay, it's super cheap. It's super low budget. If you're wanting highbrow entertainment, this is not going to be the movie for you. To me, I think if you're knowingly going into this kind of expecting like a cheesy B-movie, there is a lot to enjoy, but I think the main problem if you can accept that, even with that in mind, the movie is way too long. We don't really get Randy start going on his rampage until nearly an hour into the movie, which is way too long. I mean, the movie is too long to begin with. Ironically, I seem to be doing a lot of these like movies recently that just seem to kind of go on forever, and this is another one. It just could have gone down about another kind of like 20 minutes, 25 minutes, and it would have made it a lot more of a punchier film. Like I said, I mean, no one's really watching this movie for deep characterization and you know, and things like this. But we get, like I said, the first 55 minutes are really just that. I mean, there's kind of like a prologue kill, which doesn't really make a lot of sense in the timeline of things. And yes, there are plenty of things that don't make sense. Obviously, the fights here are a little badly kind of choreographed. There's one scene where someone goes into the house during the day and then comes straight back out again, and it's the night. Things like this, there's just not a lot of a kind of attention to detail. The acting is suitably kind of like cheesy. I think Rene Dupree, I think, does kind of one of the better jobs here, if I'm honest. But, you know, I think it could have, the main issue, outside of all of the other kind of like the cons from coming, it being such a low budget movie, that you could accept that if that's knowingly what you're going into, but it just needed to be more of a punchy film, and the kind of the killings needed to start happening earlier, and they could have interspersed it maybe with the kind of the story in regards to the loan sharks and the kind of like the subplot in regards to that. I feel as it stands, it becomes a little bit stale, and then we just get lots of kind of killing at the end. So we get, you know, we get an hour of characterization more or less, and then we just get the next kind of 40 minutes or whatever it is of pretty much just kill after kill after kill. I think it could have been re-edited and chopped down. Just down at the moment, it's extremely low budget. If you like schlocky fun, then I think you'll get a kick out of this one. And you know, I think you can smell what I'm cooking here. So I'm going to give it a 5 out of 10. Have you seen it? What did you think of it? Leave me a comment, and I shall look forward to seeing you next time. Bye for now.